welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. And normally I have guests and a show topic that is more medically driven. And although this is medically driven, doing a little bit of community service today and talking about something that's local to San Antonio that I hope inspires somebody nationwide to do something really wonderful. And I have a really special guest here with me today, Judge Alonso, who's going to give his history here in a moment about how this came to be. But he is with the Justice Therapeutic Foundation. And we're going to have a gala come out, which we'll talk about in a little while. That'll highlight this. But this is with the drug courts here in San Antonio. So I have the father of the drug courts here with me, Judge Alonso. And of course, I have Zachary Hinson here, who is his compadre, partner in crime, I believe, here. That is a great assistant. And I've been working with them to try to get more information out about this. So I'm going to fire you up this morning, Judge Alonso. Welcome. Thank you for being on. I'm honored to have you here. But tell us about the history of the drug court and exactly what you've invented, what you do.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us an opportunity.
Absolutely.
I was been practicing in the practice for over 50 years now, 16 years as a judge. And when I first got appointed in a criminal bench in county court, I found out that most of the people that came before our court were testing positive for drugs and alcohol.
Sure.
And I wanted to be the best judge that I could be. So I found out that I could get a master's degree to taking classes at the National Judicial College in Reno. And so during my summers, I would go over there and take time. And then I learned that one of the speakers there was a professor, and he talked about drug courts. And once I heard about it, I said, this is what we need in Texas. This is what we need in San Antonio.
Sure.
It's treatment instead of incarceration.
Sure.
And so I started looking into it. In fact, I got so involved in it that I wrote a master's thesis on best practices drug courts. And in 2001, I first implemented the first steps of drug court. Okay. And I found it in my career as an attorney and as a judge, it was most satisfying and productive work that I've ever done in my life.
That's wonderful.
Because hands-on, I saw people change for the best.
Which we don't believe can happen. I mean, we take a view in Texas that, the punishment fits the crime and that's it. Doors shut on you. And
exactly. I had to overcome that mindset, being tough on crime. When I first started it, our DA says, our prosecutors aren't social workers, and she didn't understand because in drug court, where you got your defense attorney, you got your prosecutor, you got the judge, your probation officer, and your treatment provider. And it's a team approach, and everybody on the team is out to help that individual get off of drugs.
Amazing.
So it's a team approach. And it's not tough on crime. It's being smart on crime. Dealing with the root causes, and the root cause is this addiction.
Right.
And so it's jail, treatment, and so the judge said, if you're highly addictive, then you're probably going to have to go inpatient treatment.
Sure.
But I learned through the procedure in 2001. Fighting the DA and fighting judges, and everybody at that time was thinking, "Oh, you got to lock them up, put them away." Right. But now it's changed.
Yeah.
We were the first one in Bexar County. Now we have 14, and I'm so grateful to that, and it keeps on going. And in fact, in 2001, when I left the bench, I started the Therapeutic Justice Foundation. Yeah. A 501c3 to help support drug courts. And we spent in the last few years probably over $400,000 helping the treatment community.
Right.
And one of the biggest funds that we have to expend is for inpatient treatment or transitional housing. Yeah. Once they get off their program, they've already lost their jobs. And
their families sometimes.
So we have to find... We pay for 1 month of housing, and then as they work, they have to pay their housing or see what but it's on a sliding scale, and so a lot of money goes to that, but it also goes, we have a food bank because many individuals are homeless.
Right. Right.
And they come into us and we meet where they are. They need clothing, they need food. We try to provide them, and we try to network with resources in the community to help them out.
So these guys, the men and women, they do have families. They had jobs. They had lives. They destroyed. And I have been, I've seen some of these people in progress. I had a patient of mine who went through this system. This is how I found this. And, went to the graduation. Ultimately, they spend a year, right? And we'll explain the program a little bit more, but I know they go through a full year and they come to this graduation and they are in, cap and gown in front of people that, their family, they put their lives back together. And the faces that are on these people are moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, moms, grandmothers. These are people who you may run into in your, job, your community, teachers of all walks of life. And to watch them go through that program and graduate with their lives back together, to hear their speeches, it's an absolute amazing program. How does this work? How do they fall into this?
Well, what we found out is 2/3 of people that are arrested, the research shows when they were arrested, they were high on drugs and alcohol. So that population is mirrored in our prisons and jail. 2/3 of people have substance abuse problems.
Right.
So we have to, right at the inception, that's when we have to intervene and try to help them on this.
Right.
And that's when we talk to them about drug courts and tell them, and many don't want to do it. They said if you volunteer to go to treatment, 90% of the people don't even show up.
Yeah.
But when the judge orders them, if they don't show up, we can have them arrested.
Right.
So
some nice incentive.
Yeah. So then and then if they're highly addictive, then we have a program, the SATF, San Antonio Treatment Facility, that you can incarcerate them for 120 to 180 days. However, they're getting treatment. Wow. So it's not complete just jail with no treatment.
Sure.
And that's where you see the biggest, from 90 days, people on methamphetamine, highly addicted, it takes them about 90 days for their brain to detox. Absolutely. And for them to start getting their goals in life and so it's really been the most gratifying work I've ever done, and I want to keep doing it. That's why we got the foundation. When I got off the bench in 2001, I started this foundation, and now a lot of the judges are helping us, and we're our fundraisers. And my goal on my thesis is to have a one-stop shop, have a drug court with a judge, and then having probation officer there, having the treatment program close to them, and testing them, having them tested. Because during the program, you're tested 2 or 3 times a week to be sure you're not taking drugs.
Right, right.
But when you have
it's a surprise test, too. They don't really know, right? So they have to... Yeah.
So you order them to come to court. You order them to go to treatment. You order them to go to the 12-step program. Yeah. Or AANA, and then you talk about a young lady or a woman that's got children. It's going to be very difficult for who's going to take care of their children.
Right.
So the conclusion of my thesis is you need a one-stop shop. We need to have daycare there for women, because women are one of the most of the people that affect our criminal justice in a big way, because they're bringing up the children.
Absolutely.
They're bringing up the second generation.
Yeah.
And so they need the help.
Absolutely.
And then we got to take care of the children while they're there. And then the transitional house, a place for them to live.
Right.
And a place for them to go to their probation, instead of going to their probation officer, coming to court, going to the treatment facility, taking a test at different venues. Sure. If you have it all in one place, it's more conducive to better outcomes.
Absolutely. And it is. So how many people do you normally graduate? It's like every year, but you've got a 6-month graduations, right? So there's kind of 2 groups going through. So how many do you graduate at a time?
Well,
With 14
the
courts,
different
so-
courts. I mean, you get from 25 to 30 in each court.
There you go. Yes.
That do it. That graduates.
Yeah, that's 300 to 500 people that could be going through at a time, and every 6 months or so, that's a couple of thousand a year, really, and or maybe up to 1,000 a year. But again, you look at the generational effect in the children and the rest of the families, and they may inspire a friend or somebody to do the same. It's amazing. That's a lot of lives touched.
Yeah,
You've done a lot.
Just as I talked to you earlier, a couple of months ago, my nephew had a worker. He said, "This is one of the most accomplished carpenters I've ever had, but he's on drugs. He's on methamphetamine. He's in jail in Hondo. Can you help him?"
Right.
And I said, "Of course I can help him." I went and I talked to him, and I said, and I talked to him. And in fact, we prayed. And while he was in jail, if you really want to help and you want to get change, you got, because what I've heard, most of the people, after they would get out of inpatient treatment, they would tell me, "Thank you, Judge, for locking me up for 180 days.
Sure.
I finally got it. I'm back together with my family and my wife and my job. Every job I had, I lost because I stole from my employer. Now I got steady employment." I mean, and that was some of the most gratifying words I ever felt, because he told me it was a higher power. It was God that got in their life.
Sure.
And I mean, I could feel the chills in my skin, hearing that testimony, and know that I was doing the right thing, and I was being guided to do the right thing.
See how infectious he is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So this young man, I started working on it, and I talked to one of the local judges in here, and he said, "No, we can't take him because he's out of county. We got to save our resources."
Right.
And I said, I didn't know what to do. And then and most of these outlying areas, they're real tough on crime. They don't believe in rehabilitation.
Absolutely.
And to me, the higher power was guiding this young man's life, because the judge, 15 years ago, I got him trained in drug court. And he told me, "Judge, whatever you want to do, help us." And he said, "I want him in this treatment facility.
Sure.
It's in San Antonio. Would you order him?" Well, we generally don't do that, but we will do it.
Sure.
If the treatment facility takes it, so we do it. Then I talked to my son, who's an anesthesiologist. He was allergic to drugs, and he couldn't practice anesthesia anymore, and he was really depressed. I said, "But you know what? You know so much about drugs.
Right.
Why don't you be a addictionologist?" He says he hadn't heard of it. So he applied. There was 200 people who applied. He got it. So now he's doing research in reversal drugs for opioids and for fentanyl. He's Dr. Randolph Toralva, Philip Randolph Toralva, and he's been published. So, and then I talked to the treatment facility, and she had been trained in drug court. So it all came together, and we were able to help him. Now we're trying to get him in the treatment facility.
Wonderful. That is great. So how does, there will be people out there who hear this, who either have a family member or themselves, would like to, be a part of this. I think you have to be arrested initially for this to occur, or to tell me how they get in. I know you've got a story. We've only got a couple of minutes before we hit the break here, but I know you've got a story. Maybe you can tell us on the other side if you would like. But how do people become a part of this?
Well, they have to be. They do have to be arrested, and they have to be screened, and they have to be introduced to the drug court by their attorney.
Okay.
Or and they get to choose. They're not forced into.
You can't force anybody to do it, really.
Yeah, you can't force anybody into recovery.
Sure.
And some people might think that, well, this sounds pretty easy. I'll go to rehab and maybe fake my way through it. But no, this court keeps you pretty accountable.
It really
and that's
does.
exactly what you need if you're addicted to drugs or
Sure.
alcohol. Because I've got personal experience with that too. Mm-hmm. I've been on the other side of this, the person who's addicted. Right. I celebrated 3 years sober from prescription amphetamines this year.
Yes.
And it's just, I'm just so grateful that by the grace of God, I was saved,
Absolutely.
from that addiction.
Absolutely. And I want you to expand on that in a few minutes. I've heard your story. It's an amazing story. And it could be anybody out there who suffers from ADD, ADHD, and are diagnosed with that. So I really want to expand on that. I want to talk a little bit really quickly, because we've got about 2 minutes, about how people can find more information on all of this, find more information on Judge, but also the gala. So I know we've got a gala, and that's the reason I wanted to bring you guys on, because we're going to celebrate this, and this is going to be on October 3rd at 6:30. It's a Thursday. And so talk a little bit about the gala and why you're doing this.
Yes, it's at San Fernando Hall. It's in the ballroom.
Beautiful.
And we're going to have judges there. We're going to be giving awards to court graduates of their choice.
Nice.
People who have gone through extraordinary hardship will go up and bear their testimonials about their experiences through drug court, because there are people, I won't mention names, but people whose houses have burned down while they were in treatment. People who have lost family members, all kinds of situations, divorce, all of these things, and they still remain in treatment. The amount of dedication it takes to go through treatment despite all of these issues, and these people, they make it every day. They graduate in droves, and we sponsor those graduations. This gala will go towards helping participants, giving them treatments, paying for UAs, transitional housing, like Judge mentioned.
The support system.
Yes, so there will be judges, some of the graduates themselves, vendors of services like Ignition Interlock will be there. People that the participants deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
As well as attorneys, law firms, other professionals.
Big community thing, and that's what it takes. It takes a community to intervene and work with people. It really does. It's not something you can just turn your head to. I think a lot of time we as society do that. We turn our head to it. So
we need to raise awareness for
absolutely.
this.
And I'm going to include a lot of information about this on my website. So as this airs, then folks can go to drpbetterlife.com and find all of the podcasts. You can go back and watch this and find more information. drpbetterlife.com, and find all my previous shows too. And so we need to take a short break and give a nod to my wonderful sponsor, who is Magna Pharmaceuticals. So we will give them a shout out for a moment, and we'll be right back.
Depression, anxiety, low energy, weakness, these are just some symptoms of low B12 levels. And the absorbable B12 folate supplement that's helping people declare victory over depression symptoms is De Novo Plus B12 by Magna Pharmaceuticals. Patients with symptoms of depression often exhibit low levels of folate and vitamin B12. The human body needs sufficient folate intake to produce the essential neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. These neurotransmitters alleviate feelings of sadness, anxiety, and gloom. What makes De Novo Plus B12 so successful? De Novo Plus B12 contains readily absorbable folate and B12. That means it's more successful at correcting the root cause of your deficiency, not just the symptoms. Whether you are suffering with low energy, depression, fatigue, or anxiety, you owe it to yourself to learn more at magnaweb.com. That's magnaweb.com. Please let us know at checkout that you heard about De Novo Plus B12 on The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Marianne Pinkston, and I am here with the esteemed Judge Alonso and with Zachary Hinson, his associate. I'm sorry, I don't even know
I'm
what
the
doing.
representative.
Thank you. That's easy enough, right? And we are talking about the Therapeutic Justice Foundation, and so also talking a little bit about a gala that's coming up, which we'll mention in a few minutes, that people can join in and support. When we left off, I mentioned a little bit that Zachary has a history. And I think the main reason, first of all, it's awesome that you are willing to sit and talk about your history. And what I intend to do in highlighting you is for people to understand this can happen to anybody. It can happen to your next door neighbor, your friend, your brother, your child. And it can happen from just a physician sitting down and giving you a prescription. It's not your fault. And then I want you to see also that there is hope and fantastic recovery on the other side. And you can go on being the great great person that you are, that you were to begin with before something like this dragged you down. Go on and be the great person that you are. So thank you for, absolutely, because you are. So thank you for sharing. Give us a little bit of insight.
Sure. So one of the things that I do is I take the outcome reports for one of the specialty courts, basically giving the professionals notes on what happened with each participant, what incentives they got for making progress, or what sanctions they got perhaps for having a dirty drug test or something like that. Also writing down what their family members' names are and things like that, so that the judge can remember and continue to build that relationship.
Sure.
It's very personal. And so when I sit there and I review the notes that I've taken, I remember every day it's just like a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. That these people are just like I was. And it really can happen to anybody.
It sure can.
So my story is that I was in college and I wasn't doing so well. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? I was very depressed, but I didn't know I was depressed.
Sure.
I thought I was just, stupid for failing my courses or something.
Sure.
I had a roommate. He said, here, try this pill. I was afraid of it. It's like, okay, I'm taking this drug. What's going on? And then I took it, and then I felt like it solved all my problems.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I must have ADHD. So long story short, I went to a doctor who prescribed me for prescription amphetamines. And I thought that was the cure to my problems. What I didn't know was that was a bad treatment for what I really had, which was depression. And, at first I took it as you're supposed to, 1 pill a day. But one day I was behind on work, and I thought, if I just stay up all night and finish this work and I take 1 more pill, I'll be even more productive.
Yeah.
And I never went back. That's the thing. You never know how it's going to really affect you.
Absolutely.
And I certainly didn't. So I was pulled over by a cop a few days later with school supplies filled to the brim, blocking my rear view mirror even.
Yeah.
I couldn't see out my back window.
Yeah.
And the cop pulled me over and he said, this looks kind of fishy.
Unusual.
I'm going to need you to step out of the car, please. And I said, well, why? And he said, because we have people in this area who are addicted to methamphetamine, and this is what they tend to do. And that was a real wake-up call for me.
Did you go through the program? Is that how you were introduced to all this? Or
I actually did not go through this program myself, but I did go through treatment, which a lot of participants go through. I went through inpatient treatment for 30 days. And
would you have liked something like this? Would this have been a good something good for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I needed to be kept accountable.
Sure.
I needed to...
And not enabled. Accountable,
exactly.
not enabled.
Yeah.
Those types of things.
Yeah, and it really can happen to anybody. I want to stress that because my father was an alcoholic.
Okay.
And I thought I was outsmarting him by, I'm not drinking.
Sure.
I'm just taking 8 pills a day.
And any physician can just say, I've heard it before when patients come to me, I've been diagnosed with this, I just need this pill, and that's the cycle. And so there's many areas where we need to break this. We need to start in the doctor's room. We need to start, with a lot. We need to start in the system too, where you say it starts with attorneys recommending. And I know we need to get the word out to more attorneys. I know there's a lot of attorneys who don't know.
We need to create more community awareness of what's happening. Look at the over 100,000 opioids death from overdoses a year in the United States. Now it's gone down a little bit, but that's a lot of people. I mean, and the lives that we lose, the resources, and a lot of them are the young people. And they're our future. Yeah. But if they're going to be, everybody's got to be aware of this and to try to, if you've got a loved one, try to get him into treatment. And I'll tell you, if he's a loved one, he's probably stolen from you. But you could file a misdemeanor case on him and then
get him into the program.
Yeah. Another thing, we started the first veterans drug court.
Yes, you did.
I mean, for too long, these veterans soldiers would go to war or go and
Yes.
serve our country,
Yes.
and they were well. But when they came back, they had a problem.
Yes.
And then for us to have them plead guilty and get a felony on their record,
Yeah.
what are their chances of getting a good job on this?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we started a drug court that it's pretrial diversion. You participate in the program, and that's an incentive for them.
Yes.
Then they participate and finish, and the case is dismissed. And that's
Absolutely.
what I think ought to be done to anybody that goes into drug court, to give them pretrial diversion. And
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
our DA is a little sensitive to this,
Mm-hmm.
and they're starting some of those programs, but we need to expand it.
Expand it and make it more. So, well,
Yes.
where can people find more information? We've got about a minute and a half left. So, where
Oh,
can
yeah.
it give us the website? I know you guys have a new website up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just a quick note, we are still switching our changes to our website to our domain.
Yeah.
But
By the time this airs,
yeah,
it
by
should
the
be
time this
up.
airs, it should be up.
But if not, hang in there.
But if not, hang in there.
Right.
So it's on therapeuticjusticefoundation.org, the entire word spelled out, therapeuticjusticefoundation.org.
Excellent.
You should be able to register to sponsor, be one of the sponsors at our gala
Please.
on October 3rd.
Yes.
And you can also find all the information that you need about the Therapeutic Justice Foundation right there on the website.
Yes.
And yeah, we're trying
yeah.
to raise awareness so that people can start hearing more about these courts,
Absolutely.
get more graduates out there, and more help to the community.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we're here for today. And so you can find more information there, but you can also go to drpbetterlife.com, and I'll have plenty of information and a link there for you. And guys, thank you. I'm so honored to have you. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have
Well,
you.
thank you for having
And
us.
thank
I
you for
appreciate it.
sharing. So everybody have a great week out there. Thank you very much.